welcome to the Belle Bennett series. We have come down to the last series in this centennial year. I am Reverend Sandrea Tolbert, and I have the pleasure today of speaking with our Director of Racial Justice Ministries, Reverend Kelly X, and our Director of Spiritual Formation, Reverend Linda Furtado. It is such a pleasure to be able to serve Scarrett Bennett as the Executive Director, and thank you so much for joining us right here on this Belle Bennett December series.
Today, we journey back in time to celebrate the remarkable history of the Scarrett Bennett Center and pay homage to the enduring legacy of Scarrett College, an institution whose story is woven into the very fabric of educational empowerment and cultural enrichment. The founding of Scarrett College is not just a chapter in a history book, it's a testament to the transformative power of education and a beacon of progressive thought in the field of Christian education and missionary training. In the late 19th century, amidst the societal reconstructions in the United States, the Methodist Episcopal Church South recognized an urgent need. It was a period marked by significant shifts, where a thirst for knowledge and cultural understanding was growing, particularly in the realms of religious education and social service. The vision was clear: establish an institution dedicated not only to the intellectual growth of young women but also to prepare them for missionary work and community leadership. This vision came to fruition in 1892 with the establishment of the Scarrett Bible and Training School in Kansas City, Missouri. Named in honor of Nathan Scarrett, a pioneer in the realm of community involvement and Christian commitment, the school was a progressive leap forward. It represented hope, opportunity, and responsibility, the chance for women to learn, grow, and lead in areas previously beyond their reach. But the story didn't stop there. With a continued expansive vision, the institution relocated to Nashville, Tennessee, in 1924, re-emerging as Scarrett College for Christian Workers. This move signified more than a change of address; it marked a profound deepening of its mission. The college bravely delved into social issues of the time, intertwining religious education with courses in race relations, economic justice, and international issues, promoting a holistic approach rarely seen during that era. This dedication to intercultural understanding and the promotion of peace and justice formed the bedrock of the college's ethos. Scarrett became a nexus where diverse voices, cultures, and religious traditions could converge in a shared pursuit of knowledge and service. Here, women were not just students, they were trailblazers, shaping their destinies, and in turn, impacting communities, societies, and nations. As we reflect on the founding of Scarrett College, we realize that it is more than a monument of the past; it's a continuing inspiration, reminding us that education, at its best, is a courageous and transformative force, one that not only enlightens minds but also empowers individuals to embark on a journey of meaningful change in the world. For many decades, Scarrett College was a hub of education and advocacy. However, as the years passed, the world changed, and the college saw a decline in enrollment, like many such specialized institutions in the late 20th century. The economic pressures and shifting landscape of higher education led to the college's eventual closure in 1988. It could have been the end of an era, but the legacy of Scarrett was too potent to disappear into the annals of history.
We knew that the college was shaky. We knew, and by then it was a graduate school. It had dropped its college status. And it was talking about future. And we knew it was talking with various seminaries about what future plans might be. And we were watching very closely about what was happening because we knew we had a claim on the property. That we is an editorial we, meaning Women's Division.
When I received the call from Dr. Welch saying that the board had made their decision to sell the campus and move to Duke, I knew we had a lot of work ahead of us.
The Women's Division exercised its legal right and gained ownership of the property on June 1, 1988. They began renovating and remodeling many of the buildings. Assets of the college were used to establish the Scarrett Foundation, which entered into relationship with the Women's Division to create what is now Scarrett Bennett Center. The Scarrett Bennett Center name honors the founders of the original Scarrett Bible and Training School, Dr. Nathan Scarrett and Belle Bennett. The new name recognized the leadership contribution of women and became a symbol of the new program as Scarrett entered its second century. The transformation from Scarrett College to the Scarrett Bennett Center marked a renaissance period for this historic institution. Rather than closing its doors, the center opened them even wider to a more inclusive and diverse audience. It transitioned gracefully into a nonprofit education and retreat center, committed to promoting social justice, equality, and empowerment of individuals from all walks of life. While it might be simpler to define Scarrett Bennett by what it is, perhaps the truest representation of its essence is found in what it does, in the lives it touches, and the changes it cultivates. Our commitment to social justice, a thread that runs intrinsically through every program we offer. Through events, workshops, and panels, the center engages both the mind and heart, challenging participants to confront systemic issues such as racism, sexism, and economic disparity. We don't just encourage passive observation, we foster active participation, dialogue, and, indeed, confrontation with difficult truths, providing the tools and knowledge necessary to effect change. Education, specifically with an emphasis on women's empowerment, represents another pillar in the foundation of the Scarrett Bennett Center. We hold steadfast in the belief that empowering women is not merely a matter of rights but a pivotal strategy in social and economic development. Through leadership programs, educational workshops, and supportive community development, the center provides a springboard for women's voices and leadership capacity. What sets the Scarrett Bennett Center apart is perhaps our community approach. It's not just an institution for individuals but a collaborative, communal effort. Volunteers, local leaders, and global thinkers alike converge in this nexus of thought and action, contributing to a vibrant community that believes in the transformative power of collective action. The Scarrett Bennett Center is more than its picturesque campus, it's a microcosm of the world we strive for. A world of equality, justice, and mutual respect. Every workshop, program, or retreat is a step towards that future, and everyone is invited to partake in this journey. Whether you're here to find your voice, strengthen it, or lend it to others who might not yet have found theirs, you're exactly where you need to be. We attempt great things for God, and we expect great things from God.
Oh my God, what a wonderful 2024 that we've had, ladies. And it has indeed been a great celebration right here at Scarrett Bennett, celebrating the centennial year. But before we get started, even though I know you and some folks know you and some people have been to a lot of events here at Scarrett, there probably are some people that have, God forbid, that do not know the awesomeness of Reverend Linda Furtado and the awesomeness of Reverend Kelly X. So before we get started about all the amazing things that have happened, would you ladies take a moment and just introduce yourselves and talk about the gifts and graces that really have led you to Scarrett?
Well, I can get started. Yes, I'm Reverend Linda Furtado, and in my work here at Scarrett Bennett, if you notice anything that's happening that might be spiritual oriented or arts oriented, chances are it's under my umbrella in spirituality and arts. However, you might have heard it be called soul work, and that's kind of the encompassing language that we've adopted here to describe many of the programs that happen. It falls under that umbrella of the work of our souls. And so that happens in many forms in creative expression and engagement in the arts, as well as in spiritual practices and disciplines. And so we practice those things here in this wonderful sacred space that is Scarrett Bennett Center, all these 10.5 acres here. You never know where we'll land. But even in our virtual spaces and connections, such as the Belle Bennett series and many other things that I'm sure we'll get to later in our time together today. So Kelly, tell us about your life and work here.
Well, thank you so much. as said, I am Reverend Kelly X, and I'm the Director of Racial Justice Ministries here at Scarrett Bennett Center. And that work is really centered around understanding that our commitment to Christ is also a commitment to one another, and that we are intentional about making sure that the opportunities that we have are not just for ourselves, but for others. That requires for us to be very much so justice-minded, and that requires for us to really look at the intersections of faith and justice and race and gender and a number of different things that then allow for us to do amazing creative programming, as well as informative training that allow you to think and to be better as a result of the time that has been spent together. And so it's exciting for me to be able to do that, given just kind of my background as a pastor and minister, but also someone who was just constantly seeking justice for myself and for those who are around me.
Oh, awesome. So it really, you guys are really encapsulating really the spirit of Belle Harris Bennett, because it was Belle's vision that led to a place called Scarrett, Bennett, that many years ago, as we've seen most certainly in the promo videos of Scarrett and any information about Scarrett, that Belle Harris Bennett had a vision to train women to be used by God, that they should be educated to do Christian work. And so starting in Kansas City and then moving to Nashville in 1924 to further that, and then, going co-ed when you come to Nashville. You have to go co-ed when you come to Nashville. And kind of broadening it a little bit, that she was really a forerunner, if you will, in the thought and about women leadership and what women leadership looks like. And so out of that, we have the 4 prongs when the college closed in '88, and now we're the Scarrett Bennett Center, have the 4 kind of tenets of Scarrett, which are the women's empowerment, the spiritual formation, the racial justice, the transformative education. That when we look at those things, how do you see today? I'm going to probe y'all a little bit. How do you see today that you live out that in your work here at Scarrett?
Well, every program that we take on, whether it's some things that have been happening for years, some would say generations, over time, or especially when looking to engage in something new, we're looking towards not only what's a meaningful way of engaging in racial justice work or spiritual practices or any of those tenets of Scarrett Bennett, but we're looking at how do these fold into the concepts that are showing up around us. So when I notice we have a lot of artists that come through, I noticed that there's a need for what does it look like to build community amongst the variety of creatives. And also, on top of that, we have many creatives who are engaged in faith and practice. And what does it look like to blend those worlds and to come together as people of faith who do creative works? And so that informs the programming. It's not making up what we think that if you build it, they will come. It's building the things that make sense for the needs that are currently present in our world today. And I think that really resonates with the work of the college.
Oh, I'll tell you one of the things, I have several, and that's a question I'm going to ask you later, but one of my favorite things about this year, when you said about artists, one of the favorite things this year for me was how you merged both the poetry moment and the art moment together for the community. There was such a profound night to have the poetry community night, where you kind of like went around and were inspired by different art to do poetry, and that people
And that was
wrote
a
poetry.
lot of fun.
People wrote poetry, then got up and recited poetry. People had never done it before, and so that was just amazing. And that's kind of the tapping into creative and how people can not only tap into the creative side of themselves, but also tap into the creative side of the divine and the divineness in them. So that's one of my favorites. And so throughout tonight, throughout this discussion, we'll hit on some favorites.
That's good. That's good. I think for myself, for me doing racial justice work, like dealing with racism and white supremacy or however it shows up within the context, I really believe that is soul work. I think that there's something that is happening within our spiritual understanding of ourselves that allows for us to other others. Like when we are not dealing with our own spiritual understandings of who we are, it becomes easier for us to not see the humanity of others, to not see our fellow human beings as our siblings. And so doing this work is spiritual formation. So that's that. And then you add to it that it then harms I think others that are already marginalized more. So women in particular, racism is a difficult and horrible systemic ill. But when you add that with sexism, it becomes more difficult. And so typically a lot of the work that we do, especially given the history of Scarrett, is with women. I know this question has not been asked yet, but when I think about in January being able to sit down with the heads of public institutions of education, and all of them were Black women at that time. So to have the head of Tennessee State University, having the head of Nashville State, and the head of Nashville Public Schools sit and talk about education, which transformative education is what we do, that was important because we know that one of the things that has been able to disrupt systemic ills is education. And when we're able to have access to equal and fair education, we're able to do better. And that also speaks to why books are being banned and different things that happen, because we don't want that the truth truly does set us free. And so being able to do that, and I think that is one of the benefits of being at Scarrett Bennett Center, is that taking from Bear Harris Bennett, like these different pieces that say that even though society says this, that there's still possibility beyond that, and we are able to have a space that allows for us to explore in that way. That's still within a spiritual context, not necessarily can be religious, can be Christian at the time, but it can be, but also not just Christian. That opens up our possibility of understanding the divine better and understanding ourselves better, and really explore and study has been, I think, it's what's really awesome about doing this work here.
Which brings me to another favorite moment of 2024 for me in racial justice, which was the Salboni Leadership Summit, when we talked about education and how important it is to educate others about othering and how we other one another. That moment of being able to impress upon young minds, those from high school and college, to come together for a weekend here, to sit down and really talk about the differences that they experience economically, racially, as well as gender. I mean, they were all over the board of bringing those issues to the table. But not only bringing the issues to the table, they also had solutions.
Yeah.
I mean, when they came up with a song regarding colorism, I was like, oh, really? This is what you... and how to maneuver through that. And it just, that weekend was just it's like you're shaping the generation, you're shaping the future. And for me, that was an important moment because when students initially came from for school at Scarrett or did Scarrett College for Christian Workers in '88, when it moved here in 1924, they were young. And when you think about the ages of people, and we see alumni now. Alumni now, you know, they're a little bit older, maybe a little bit older, but when you think about the time that they came here and the young, impressionable minds and how they were shaped while they were here, and to hear their stories about how Scarrett helped shape where they are in their ministries and how they were able to continue the work, that was instilled upon them in this space at a very young age. You know, many times when some craziness was going on in the world. And so the Salboni Leadership Conference Summit was another, we had so many great moments this year. I mean, you know, as I think about them, we had some really great ones, but when you mentioned about training in education and transformative education, and to think that they were like, oh no, we want to come back. We want to do some more. That let us know the profound impact that we had upon them and the great work that we're doing here. So along those lines, I'm gonna still stay with Belle Harris Bennett for a minute, if y'all don't mind. That if Belle Harris Bennett were alive today, since I have two wise women here, what words of encouragement do you think that she might offer for those that are striving for a more progressive future, both in the spirituality sector, both just trying to get into really how a woman is going to show up in spaces in the times that we're living in now, when it seems as if women's rights are under attack, along with several other rights. But during this time frame of significance for women, really in defining who you are and how you show up in the spaces, you know, what does that look like now? And how, so how would you craft the mentoring moment with a younger Linda?
Oh, the younger Linda. Me and my 3 children on my brain now.
What do you think of those babies? You know, with the younger Kelly, right? You know, so, I mean, you all have really the next generation or the generation of the women folk in your households. And so how are you training them up now to navigate this world?
So I won't say I'm a super free spirit type exactly. My classroom management teacher self just can't go that far. But I do recognize the value in a space and to be able to connect in person. And some of that learned through my children. And especially, all of us know COVID life on some level. And for me, part of it was that semi-homeschool where your kids are online in school situation, not by choice. But much of that discovery led me to realize how important that is to recognize my kids' unique needs in a whole new level and way in that context. But also, what does that look like knowing that they're not going to be stuck in this bubble? And I feel like here at Scarrett Bennett, we have this sacred space and connection that happens often with planned events and such, but I'm not sure I can even count the number of moments that I've been able to experience because I was here. Even we just hosted a worship experience with a church that did a service here at the East End UMC Lessons and Carols. Thank you. But my brain stopped because I was thinking about a couple that meets up in Nashville, kind of randomly, not real scheduled things, but they decide to meet up. I don't even think they're dating or anything. They're just both musicians that love to connect, and one used to live in town. And this was their middle ground. And they come to Scarrett. When they come to town and find an archway and sit on the ground and play their instruments. One plays a viola, and the other plays violin, maybe. But she sings. And I sat and sang with them for a stretch. Of course you did. Of course I did. But that kind of opportunity that I know my kids are going to connect with when they go to college, or when they go out into the world of things and connect with others in church environments or otherwise. And I feel like this is a place that gives you a chance to practice.
Yeah, that's good.
In a safe, sacred, intentional environment. And so I don't remember if it was an event or a testimony or something, but I remember saying that I wanted this to be a place where my kids would want to come. And so when I'm thinking through programming and possibilities and spiritual practices, from the folks I run into on the prayer labyrinth to under the arches to meeting us in community lunch or otherwise, I'm thinking, yeah, this is a place that my kids would find connection with someone. Not just necessarily hang out fun, although arts can be very fun, but just genuine connection and love in the space. So
yeah, that's good. I had the pleasure a couple of weeks ago to go to Gamelia Institute's Race and Power Conference. And the theme of their conference was resist, persist, and insist. And as I think about Belle Bennett and her raising money to start this college and then making sure that it comes to the state that she was in, doing all that, for me, that sounds like Belle Bennett. Like, she made this move, she made this happen even in her death.
That was what was She'd never been here. And she was like, but I want this school to be
in Nashville.
In Nashville, so
And so, and I think that, and so like that resistance to, like, I know what you said that it's supposed to be, and that who gets to do theological education. But no, we're going to resist what the norm is, and we're going to be persistent in that and insist that this happens. And I think that as we're in this age of what feels like progress is not wanted, and I think that's the gut punch. Sometimes it feels like, I feel like we're moving in the right direction, and if I'm feeling like, no, this feels unsafe. This feels nerve-wracking. I think people are scared about what happens when those whom we have said are not capable, are not just capable, but are doing very well. And what does that mean about us? But to be, and when there's pushback on it, to continue to persist in that, to continue to say, no, yes, look what our world can be when we allow everyone to be their full God-given self, and how community is better. And so then you get the couple showing up on the viola and singing, and you know what I mean? Like, you end up with moments that you never thought would happen when you create these safe spaces where that happens. And so that is really what I'm hoping to create and to do in this space, and really create a world where my kids can be free. And that becomes the desire for me. It's really like, where are these free? And also, as much as I am not an artist, turns out I make artists. And these kids are artists nonetheless. And so, like, being able to know that there are places where they can be free to do that. And that there are folks who, for me, that traditionally, looking at an older white person, I am conditioned to think that they don't see my humanity. But to know that on this campus, that you're here for a reason, that means that either that you're working to transform that, and you're open to that, or you've already done that work. And if that can happen in someone who is already conditioned in a way, that the younger folks can see and learn and know better, and we really are still moving in the right direction, even as there is pushback, and it feels like we are being reverted in many ways.
And I've had so many of those moments this year, I think. Just at the beginning of, I can go down the whole list. Y'all probably, could too. But if you go back to January, and having profound moments to have people just be in the right space at the right time. When the snow apocalypse happened.
Oh, yeah, that was this year. That was this year.
That was just, it really was this year. And who knew that, by having Nick and Giovanni stay on campus and the snow apocalypse happening, that we would, have to do the filming for the Martin Luther King Day convocation from one of the houses, and preserving that moment, and being able to preserve that at the beginning of the year, and not knowing that before the year end that she would transition to be with the elders, with the angels, with the saints watching over us, to have that moment, and then to go into a moment in April with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's daughter, to celebrate, part of our centennial, and having her come to speak here in the same chapel, historic chapel that her father did 57 years ago.
That was good.
That was a good moment. That was a good moment. That was a good moment. Where college students from Fisk and Belmont, part of the Collaborative Justice Program, were able to curate those questions and be in the audience and ask questions. That was, and kids come in and getting the book, Coretta, the book on Coretta. And getting it signed, and they were just so excited, and they were sitting there holding their book like, I have the book on Coretta Scott. And I'm going, oh my God, that was a moment, I'm about to tear up just thinking about it. But creating those spaces that no matter what age you are, that you can experience this sacredness, this sacred space. And really live that out. Before I go into, what you guys have planned for next year, what were your favorite moments of this year?
So I'm gonna jump and say my favorite moment was probably our most difficult moment.
Oh, yeah.
And that was TGLC. Oh, yeah. Like we spent this year planning the Transformative Global Leadership Conference over a year. We started really December, early, trying to get that done. And it was great to work with Africa University and American Baptist College and the Keller Miller Smith Institute for Black Church Studies from Vanderbilt Divinity School. And it's a lot to work with different institutions. Honestly, globally. I mean, honestly, it's a lot. There's a lot to deal when you work with leaders in general in one institution, and you add institution, and then you put one of those institutions in Zimbabwe. Yeah. It's a lot. And to go from a concept paper to then coming up with these tracks, and for me, like sitting with, okay, so this is what y'all want. All right, so let me sit down and think, who do I know in Nashville, in the country, and then talking with the professors in Zimbabwe, who are the folks that are in Africa, to be able to have a climate change scientist in South Africa be on the Zoom while we're having it. Like it was difficult. I was tired. We were nervous, but it came together. Like it was like, oh, okay. So the things that you have given me in my head, God, they come together. Like they didn't just come together on the page. They came together in real life, and it manifested. And we had a wonderful time. I think people really enjoyed themselves, and there were connections made, and there were organizations who knew of each other but didn't know that they could work together. And so to have Gideon's Army, which is a violence prevention org for young people, to say, oh, we could also work with the Catherine Brown Leadership, which is an org that's really about how do we get young people through college. And you like, there's one that's just I just want to keep you alive. and the other one is saying we want to get you degreed, right? And that both of them are actually doing the same work and they can work together. Like that was it's transformative. And so that was a really good time. And I think I'm still trying to reclaim my sleep from September as a result of doing it, but it was really worth it. It was good. So that was really fun for me. Well, I don't know if fun's the right word, but
it got to be
the
fun.
outcome was fun. Yeah.
It was very powerful because when you think about running 5 tracks at one time,
all at the same time,
from
all
different time zones, in person and online. That was, and some of your speakers being across the country, literally. That was amazing. And Linda did the artwork for it.
That was an adventure too.
The artwork with and then the coloring shit
into one.
It's one. So that was, so it's truly transformative. And building upon that legacy of Belle Harris Bennett, it really, it brought it full circle for me because Scarrett was probably a forerunner, if you will, in one of the first colleges having international students and knowing how to do that well. People coming from Africa, from Korea, from China, just across the board, from the Philippines. We have, alumni from all over the world. And so the transformative global leadership kind of brought that full circle in a 2024 moment. And so what does that, what does that look like now in 2024? What was started many years ago, over a century ago, and how you walk into the next century, what does that look like?
Because I don't know if we were even making that connection. Like I think as far as how that was already in this particular institution, I know we were making that connection globally because we were involving an institution that was in Southern Africa. But I don't know if that piece, and and when we think about Scarrett College, not just being a college for white women to become missionaries out, but also for those who are in countries around the world to come here to train. That is beyond just what we traditionally think about. And so that's very much so progressive and ahead of its time.
Oh, very. Very, very, very. If you think about it, that folks were coming here in the 20s and before then from all across the world to get trained, that's groundbreaking. And to move that fast forward to do it online before online was thought of, now, and to even bring it full circle with the Centennial Tea. As we celebrate the tea, to do it as a moment of honoring how those international students came over, as well as the missionaries that went over, and to do that in a way to honor that and have on display the garments from several of those countries, to really demonstrate the impact that Scarrett has. I think seeing something visually, that visual art piece also is very good. So it's been a great year. What's your favorite?
I don't know now. I'm like, I did take some notes. Like, what did I did y'all just say all the things? No, you didn't.
Talking about?
No,
I was going to give you one.
Y'all know, but I will actually jump to very recent, since we're going through kind of a timeline. And
I'm all over the place because whenever y'all say one thing, I'm like, yes.
But I really do love that we have this annual tradition Christmas here that precedes all of us in doing these Christmas concerts. And the thing that I love about those in particular, because I'm extremely intentional in the music side of it, is finding a way to recruit a diversity of performers. And
That's great.
To create an opportunity for new voices and local voices that just bring their heart for music in the multitude of genres that are possible in Music City, USA. But also, I know that there's this challenge because we're in the meat of Nashville, and it's quite the hub for music, and it gets very expensive having musicians. But at the same time, there are many that don't have such opportunities as often around here because it's such a dense space. So for everything from a sophomore in high school who played with us for one of the concerts this other week, gosh, it feels like forever ago, but it was not. Just last week. To Tried and True, been here for 20, 30, I don't know how many years, playing the honky tonks in downtown Nashville at Robert's Western World, in case you're curious. But John England and his crew, just all of that, and some
swingers.
The Western Swingers, yes. If you don't know about Western swing music, look it up. It's got some history. But just to have all these voices, and I know last year we had a lovely group that did some more Hispanic Latino mix into it, maybe some Cuban background in there. But also, we've just had chamber music this year. It is a beautiful gift to be in relationship with the Nashville Chamber Music Society and the concerts they bring to our campus and the musicians that they offer us in exchange for events that we host, including playing for, sorry, I touched the mic, playing for the luncheon, the tea. And we get to meet and connect and do what our mission says, creating space, right? Where we can engage a multitude of people and backgrounds. And of course, these musicians, the youngin in particular, get to connect with new people and find new gig opportunities. And it's just, this place creates opportunity for folks.
It does.
And so when we put together an event or host an event, it's not just an event center, but it's a connecting point. So I appreciate that in the relationships. I feel like the meat of my work is networking and creating opportunities for these budding networks to connect with one another. And I think that offers us some of that transformative educational opportunity as well, because this is almost like a training ground. There's a primer for life. And so we create these opportunities for learning and engaging and practicing our practices with and in front of others, from poetry to arts. We had a high school senior this year as one of our features in the art gallery. And she comes from a Filipino background. And so it's just an amazing gift to be able to be that place for so many people across the world and across cultures.
Right. I mean, and the monthly offerings with storylines and Poets Corner. It's like a plethora of, this is, I think I was talking to somebody once and they described it as God's playground. They're scared it was God's playground, but I like the phrase that you just said, that it's the place of connection. Because oftentimes we find that we don't even know really who's in the room, and somebody comes in and they're like, oh my God, that's such and such, and they connect, and they've known someone for years, and they find them here, or they figure out that they do the same thing and connect and start doing, providing those services and the conversations that are over community lunch, and how people just kind of like come together from various different parts and walks of life for community lunch, just over a meal, just to have conversation, that you just sit down and have a conversation, and next thing you know, you have a million trees on campus.
You're doing a new program you didn't know.
You're doing a new program that you didn't know. So, it was like, how do you do, because of how the Spirit moves in this place, that the Spirit moves and connects those that need to be in connection with one another. And we are so grateful for that how that just relays throughout, that whether it is from different genres of music, the chamber music, the John England Western swingers, the connection. Oh my God, the ultimate connection. You know how we didn't even realize that Black Sacred Weekend came to be. that was crazy.
I thought you were going to talk about Juneteenth.
Juneteenth was fire.
Yeah, I thought you were going to talk. Yeah.
Well, and that in and of itself, when you talk
That's what we're doing.
the breadth of diversity, even though Juneteenth is a holiday, national holiday, woot, woot, that really leans into Black people in this country, in our history and all that, and that celebratory lens of freedom. That event brought together so many different types of people. And I mean, even the chamber music folks were all in, and it may have been a whole bunch of white folks playing up there in their quartet goodness, but they leaned in to composers of Black background. And their it just touched souls in a way that I was just so deeply moved and fascinated because I watched the audience, right? But that event from your Mississippi Sax Harmonica, in case you don't know that name, and poetry blending together, jazz band closing us out, just as if we were at the club somewhere. It was late night and they were jamming. I mean, but these folks, from solo to spoken word to a full theatrical 15-minute performance, it was wild. Yeah. And it all came together. And for me, it was somewhat low-hanging fruit because of how much energy was there and people expressing interest in doing something. So to pull it together wasn't a wild concept, but it turned out so great, and folks are looking forward to next ones. It's turned into a planning primer for me as I look towards variations on that cycle or theme, so that we might have a native or hometown music inspired cultural context, and or some other genres or themes throughout the year, or other segments of community, and how do we bring people together around these, and in a way that inspires and uplifts and informs in a meaningful way. So I'm just totally excited about the bridge that event is to what may come in the future.
Because it's the connections, and so I'm excited about what has been, because we've established some kind of like norms. The Black Sacred Weekend, the Nashville. We've gotten in addition to the annual Christmas concerts and lunches, we now have an annual Nashville African American Wind Symphony concert that benefits the Salvation Army. We have so many kind of things that have become a thing. But there were so many exciting things that are about to happen that I cannot contain myself in the coming days, in the coming weeks. For the brief moment that I have with you all, can we run down the first quarter?
Oh Lord, I don't know if we got time for that.
But we have, I mean, there's so much, that's about to embark.
I think you've got the first thing.
Well, the first thing is this weekend, I believe, with the 4 kids.
Before the end of this
Before the end of this year is the 4 kids, where we're teaching kids about giving, teamed up with 4 Good Community, which teach kids about giving, that they're able to come and receive all these donations and shop. Oh my God. And shop. And so we're excited about that, but you got the first thing.
I'm starting the year.
Yeah.
And this is a commitment for me, so join me, y'all. 31 days of prayer to start off the year. And there's going to be a live on day 1, January 1st. I know it's a holiday. I don't even have to work, but I will be on with you online if you sign up. And sign up for our newsletter. You get all the updates and information. But definitely check out the events. We'll make sure that's on our events calendar. Even if you sign up late, sign up anyway. It's a new topic every day with a different scripture and a different prayer that invites you to pray with us here at Scarrett Bennett, and to pray with you, and an opportunity for online community for those of us who can't quite get here in the space. We can connect virtually. So please do check that out and join us.
Then we've got the MLK Day Women of Faith panel that is happening on January 12th. And and typically when we think about MLK Day, we just think about Martin Luther King. But we also know that the work that happened during that movement, and that continues to happen in particular in the church, are women doing that. And so sitting down with 4 clergy women that are both active and retired in the church, and talking about what does it mean to be a Black woman in ordained ministry. And that is going to be a powerful conversation, because as we sit here as Black women in ordained ministry, we understand sometimes there are invisible hoops that we have to jump through. And the jump is easier when we do that thing together. And so how do we do that? And how does that also then benefit the community and the persistence for justice in the world? And so I'm very excited about doing that in collaboration with MLK Day and the convocation that we'll be having. And then that's on that Sunday. And then that Friday and Saturday, I will be doing a Rise retreat, which is reclaiming intentional sacred ease. And that is a retreat for Black women. If there's one thing that I know right now about my sisters, are that we are tired. And I think that in particular, this last election cycle really took a lot out. In particular of women who, of all educational backgrounds, but I think there's something about, in many ways, an overachieving Black woman that is feeling a lot in this moment. And what I want us to do is to reclaim some sacred ease, be intentional. So there'll be time to just, we'll have a pajama jammy jam, like in the 90s. We're gonna hang out, and we're also going to take some time to lay down a little bit of burden. We'll do some yoga, we'll take a nap, and I'm gonna have Linda give you her soft words over the top of it. I don't know if I've never napped with Linda, but I know that if I were to take a nap, the voice that I need to hear to lull me to sleep is Reverend Linda Furtado.
You can get a taste of that on the prayer labyrinth.
Yes, you are correct. You are correct on that prayer labyrinth. That was a great guide. That's a great guided meditation that you do. I absolutely love that. And so being able to do that and rest and then leave motivated and refreshed, knowing that the work is not done, but that we don't have to do all the work ourselves, and that we can breathe, like in singing. When we hold the note, I gotta breathe, so you sing, and then I sing so you can breathe, so we can sustain the work. Somebody's got to take a breath. And so, like, being able to do that, knowing that we get to sustain this thing, not by us all working ourselves to the bone, but us being intentional about resting in the midst of that. So I'm excited about that one. And I think, you got something else there?
We're already know
you guys do the Black Sacred Weekend.
Then we got Black,
there's a lot coming up.
Yeah, we got Black Sacred Weekend.
But there's
Black
one thing. Black Himmy.
There's one more thing.
There's
one more thing, and that is Lady Eleanor Graves.
Oh yeah, that one. That wasn't what I was thinking.
I wasn't even saying so many things. Doing lessons from in-laws, and that she and some of her friends have been trained in racial reconciliation and using the book of Ruth and the relationship between with Ruth and Naomi to build racial reconciliation between Black people and white folks, to really build, knowing that we love the same God. And using that as a way to then build loving relationships together. So that's happening the first 3 Saturdays in February.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The 3rd, 8th, and the 15th.
Wow. That's a lot.
There's a lot. I'm sorry.
What else you said? We're doing something else. What are we
doing? All the things.
Oh, the other thing that we're bringing in March?
Yeah, the September.
The theatrical thing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
I know, it's so much.
We got a play coming.
We got a play coming.
Yeah, it's a lot happening.
Yes, September. We are so excited. But again, as you can see, as the archways over, the archways in front of the historic Susie Gray Dining Hall state, on one side it says, attempt great things for God. And on the other side it says, expect great things from God. We here at Scarrett Bennett are definitely attempting great things for God and expecting great things from God. Yeah. You can see that great things are happening here, and we invite you to come and be a part of the amazing great things that are happening here as we offer radical hospitality to all right here at historic Scarrett Bennett. For more information, please visit us on scarrettbennett.org. We would love to see you.